Hello and welcome everyone to the daily news analysis of today, that is 26th of August 2023। तो चलिए शुरू करते हैं। आज बहुत सारा आर्टिकल हैं, 13 आर्टिकल टोटल हैं। ये आप देख सकते हैं, 13 आर्टिकल पूरा। तो पहला जो आर्टिकल है, शी जिनपिंग वांट्स बोथ कंट्रीज टू हैंडल बॉर्डर इशू प्रॉपर्ली। नेक्स्ट जो है, प्रज्ञा ट्रैवर्स 8 मीटर्स ऑन मून। पेज नंबर 1 में ये भी है, पहला वाला आर्टिकल ये भी है पेज नंबर हिंदू न्यूज़पेपर में। तो नेक्स्ट जो है, 28 फीट नटराज स्कल्पचर फ्रॉम तमिलनाडु टू ग्रेस G20 वेन्यू इन दिल्ली। पेज नंबर 3 में ये आर्टिकल आपको मिल जाएगा। एडिटोरियल सेक्शन में कॉन्क्रीट अलायंस, Rethink the dynamics of India's fiscal federalism, Cleantech for an inclusive green future in India। ये तीनों एडिटोरियल का पार्ट है। हम देखेंगे मोड फॉर गेम चेंजरजेट इंजन टेक्नोलॉजी ट्रांसफर एक्सपेक्टेड सून। पेज नंबर 8 वाला ये इंजन है। Why did Chandrayaan-3 land on the near side of moon? ये हम देखेंगे क्यों वो near side of moon में लैंड किया। India and Greece pledge to upgrade ties between strategic partners। India and Greece pledge upgrade ties between ties to become strategic partners। तो नेक्स्ट जो है, तेहरान एंड न्यू दिल्ली ड्रॉप फॉरेन आर्बिट्रेशन क्लॉज इन छावर पोर्ट। सो पेज नंबर 9 में ये मिलेगा। इंदौर बेस्ट सिटी, MP टॉप स्टेट इन द स्मार्ट सिटी कॉन्टेक्स्ट। पेज नंबर 10 में ये मिलेगा। G20 मिनिस्टर्स एग्री टू मैप ग्लोबल वैल्यू चेन लिंक MSMEs। ग्लोबल G20 मिनिस्टर के द्वारा ये प्रस्तावित किया गया है। तो लास्ट जो आर्टिकल है, चाइना एंड भूटान होल्ड फास्ट मीटिंग ऑन डिलिमिटेशन ऑफ डिस्प्यूटेड बाउंड्री। चलिए पहला आर्टिकल शुरू करते हैं। She wants both countries to handle properly border issues। ये पेज नंबर 8 का जो आर्टिकल था ये हमने कैलकुलेट कर दिया है। China's foreign ministry said early on Friday that its President Xi Jinping told Prime Minister Narendra Modi during talks on Wednesday that both sides should bear in mind the overall interest of the ties and handle properly the border issue। Beijing also said that the meeting between the leaders on sidelines of the BRICS summit in Johannesburg came at the request of Mr. Modi। Informed sources, however, clarified that while India had sought an informal conversation with China, it had rejected a pending Chinese request for more structured bilateral meeting between the two leaders। Neither side had acknowledged the meeting on Wednesday, but on Thursday, Foreign Secretary Vinay Kwatra said that both sides had agreed to step up efforts for the disengagement of troops and de-escalation of tensions along the line of actual control, after a conversation between the two leaders the previous day. Mr. Modi and Xi had spoken briefly on the sidelines of a Bali G20 summit dinner last year about the need to stabilize the LAC, where a military standoff has been underway since April 2020. This is the first such conversation in the past 3 years where the two leaders spoke at some length about resolving the issue. It could represent a thaw in ties that have been in limbo. In a conversation with President Xi Jinping, of China, PM highlighted India's concern on the unresolved issues along the line of actual control in western sector of India and China border areas. Mr. Quatra said, adding that the two leaders had decided to direct their relevant officials to intensify efforts to expeditious disengagement and de-escalation. Military commanders from both sides have in recent days been negotiating modalities for disengagement at two remaining points of friction in Demchok and Depsang. The statement from Beijing early on Friday provided a little detail on the talks, only saying that the two leaders had a candid and in-depth exchange of view on current China-India relations and other questions of shared interest, and noted that the talks had been held at Mr. Modi's request. President Xi stressed that improving China-India relations serves the common interest of the two countries and people, and also conducive to peace, stability and development of the world and the region. The statement said the two sides should bear in mind the overall interest of their bilateral relations and handle properly the border issue so as to jointly safeguard peace and tranquility in the border region, it added. A Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson added on Friday that China hopes to work with India to act on the important common understanding between the two leaders, increase strategy, mutual trust, focus on our consensus and cooperation, remove disturbances and obstacles, and advance the bilateral relations along a sound and stable track. The boundary question is a historical issue and does not represent the entirety of India-China relations. We should place it appropriately in our bilateral relations and seek a fair, reasonable, and mutually acceptable settlement through peaceful and friendly consultation. Spokesperson Wang Wenbin said before the boundary question is settled, the two sides need to jointly safeguard peace and tranquility in the border areas. ये हमारा पहला आर्टिकल था. नेक्स्ट जो आर्टिकल है, प्रज्ञान traverses 8 meters on moon. Pragyan traverses 8 meters on moon. Giving a much-awaited glimpse of Pragyan, the Indian Space Research Organisation on Friday said the rover successfully traversed a distance of around 8 meters on the lunar surface. The ISRO released two videos of Pragyan 2 days after the Vikram lander of Chandrayaan-3 made a historic soft landing near the south pole of the moon. The first video shows the rover rolling out of the lander onto the lunar surface. The video was captured by the lander imager camera on Wednesday. The second video shows the deployment of the ramp from the lander and the deployment of the solar panel of the rover. A two-segment ramp facilitated the roll-down of the rover. A solar panel enabled the rover to generate power, the ISRO said on X, formerly Twitter. The ISRO said Pragya payloads had been turned on. All planned rover movements have been verified. The rover payloads, laser-induced breakdown spectroscope, and alpha particle X-ray spectrometer are turned on, it is said. The objective of the two payloads is to derive the elemental composition in the vicinity of the landing site. The lander has four payloads to study thermal conductivity, temperature, seismicity, and other characteristics of lunar surface. Of them, three payloads ILSA, RAM, BHA, and CHASTE have been turned on. तो तीसरा जो आर्टिकल है, 28 feet Nataraja sculpture from Tamil Nadu to grace G20 venue in New Delhi. ये वाला जो स्कल्पचर है नटराज नटराज की A 28-foot Nataraja statue meant to be placed in front of the venue of G20 Leaders Summit to be held next month in New Delhi was sent by road on Friday from Pamimallai, a small town in TamilNadu's Tanjavur district known for its bronze sculpture. The statue, weighing 19 tons and made of 8 metals: gold, silver, lead, copper, tin, mercury, iron and zinc (Ashtadhatu), is believed to be the world's tallest Nataraja sculpture. The statue is on its way to the Bharat Mandapam, Pragati Maidan, where the summit is scheduled to be held on September 9 and 10. Today we sent the unpolished statue to Delhi. The pedestal of the statue will be sent separately. Polishing and final touches to the statue will be done in Delhi. And Srikant Srikant Satpathy of Swamimalai, who along with his brothers Radhakrishna Satpathy and Swaminatha Satpathy made the statue. The three are the son of renowned sculptor Devasanapati Satpathy. The statue is 22 feet in height and the pedestal is 6 feet, making the entire sculpture 28 feet tall. We have followed the model of Chidambaram, Punerira Japuram and other Natarajas of the Chola period in making this statue, said Mr. Srikant Sapathy. Sculptors Sadasivam, Gaurisankar, Santosh Kumar and Raghavan were also involved in the project. 6 month effort. The order for the statue was placed by Union Culture Ministry this February and it took 6 months to complete the work. We could have completed it earlier but for the rain, he said. The cost of the statue is around 10 crore. The statue was handed over to Achal Pandya, professor and HOD, the Indira Gandhi National Center for the Arts, who will accompany it to New Delhi. The statue is known as one of the outstanding creations of Tamil Nadu's Tamil culture's sources said Prime Minister Narendra Modi was keen on a Nataraja statue adorning the G20 venue. तो नेक्स्ट जो है एडिटोरियल का सेक्शन है कंक्रीट अलायंस। कंक्रीट अलायंस क्या है उसे देख लेते हैं थोड़ा, है ना। ब्रिक्स फाउंड न्यू पर्पज विथ एक्सपांशन बट कॉन्ट्राडिक्शन टू। If there was any doubt about the relevance of the BRICS grouping, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, which held its 15th summit in Johannesburg this week, the massive global interest in its outcomes should have put those to rest. Ever since the grouping, set up as a coalition of emerging economies, said last year that it was open to new members, as many as 40 countries from the global south have evinced interest in joining. With at least 22 formal applications, the decision to more than double its membership overnight from 5 to 11 by including by inducting four major Middle Eastern players: Egypt, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and United Arab Emirates, as well as Ethiopia and Argentina from Africa and South America, respectively, is significant. The enthusiasm is obvious. BRICS has weathered several storms and is today seen, if not as any alternative, as a counter-narrative creator to the Western-led G7 club on diverse issues, from climate change commitment and United Nations reforms to its rejection of unilateral Western sanctions against Iran, Russia, and Venezuela, by also creating the new development bank which was funded nearly 100 projects so far, instituting a contingent reserve arrangement, and other institutional mechanisms, the BRICS countries have also shown their ability to work on practical initiatives. While grouping may not yet rival the wealth of the G7, it does now rival its share of global GDP, approximately 30% each, and represents a more equitable representation across 40% of the world's population to the G7 countries that make up just 10%. Once the new members join, 6 of 10 of the biggest global oil suppliers will be BRICS countries, giving BRICS new heft in the field of energy. While the battle of proving its region deity may have been substantially won, the BRICS countries still fall short in showing a coherence of purpose and are still marred by inner contradiction. The rivalry between India and China has no doubt slowed the grouping down, and the induction of arch rivals Iran and Saudi Arabia (UAE), despite their recent detente, could well create similar issues for the groups in the future. In addition, any overtly political anti-Western stance by BRICS will make India and other countries in the grouping to walk a tightrope between the global powers, including Egypt, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Brazil. Uncomfortable, Russia's invasion of Ukraine too has caused uneasiness, and BRICS members did not vote as a bloc or on any of the United Nations vote, nor did any of the other members support Russia's action. Above all, any attempts by China to overpower the group with its strategic or economic vision will require a firm pushback if the foundational idea of BRICS to assert the strategic autonomy of its members is to be followed eventually. It is the promise of shared prosperity and a more democratic model of global governance that attracts so many in the global south to the grouping and will provide the mortar for an expanded lineup of BRICS countries. The next way, rethink the dynamics of India's fiscal federalism. Rethink the dynamics of India's fiscal federalism. A holding together federation with a built-in unitary bias, the Indian constitution was the contextual product of centrifugal forces and Fisciparos' tendencies in the run-up to independence. It has journeyed over 73 years with remarkable resilience. Even so, the emerging dynamics of India's fiscal federalism needs some rethinking. The paradigm shift from a planned economy to a market-mediated economic system. The transformation of a two-tier federation into a multi-tier fiscal system following the 73rd and 74th constitutional amendments, the abolition of the planning commission and its replacement with Niti Aayog, the passing of the Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management (FRBM) Act, with all the states forced to fall in line, the goods and service tax GST, with the GST Council holding the controlling lever, the extensive use of cess and surcharges which affect the size of the divisible pool and so on have altered the fiscal landscape with varying consequences on India's federalism. I raise just four issues. One, India's intergovernmental transport system should be decidedly more equity-oriented, although the natural proclivity of any market-mediated growth process is to work in favor of the proper, propertied class propertied. Propertied class, the actual experience in India has been outstanding. Chancel and Piketty 2019 estimate that the top 1% earners in India captured less than 21% of the total income in 1930s, but this was drastically reduced to 6% in the early 1980s and then rose to 22% during the liberalization era. To be sure, the tax exemptions, tax concession, and other revenues foregone in recent times disproportionately favored the rich and have reduced the size of the divisive pool. Equity is concern for 16th finance body. My study on the convergence trajectory of proper capita income (PCI) of 16th major state from 1970-71 through 2020 and 2021, based on Economic and Political Weekly Research Foundation data, shows an increasingly divergent trend where the standard deviation value of log PCI has increased to 0.231 in 2020-21 from 0.186 in 1991-92, registering a compound annual growth rate (CAGR) of 0.72%. On the other hand, following the United Nations Development Programme methodology, women and Verma, in a forthcoming paper in the EPW, argue that the Human Development Index across 15 states shows a convergence during the post-reform period. The standard deviation value of HDI is reduced to 0.268 in 2018 from 0.611 in 1991. Instructively, the desegregated picture since 2005 that spans FRBM legislation shows a declining rate of convergence with a high CAGR of -2.85%. Indeed, equity should be the overarching concern of the 16th Finance Commission and that FDI could consider as a strong candidate in the horizontal distribution of tax devolution. Second, there is a case for revisiting Article 246 and 7 and the 7th schedule for a de novo division of powers, functions, and responsibilities for a variety of regions. First, India is no longer the one-party governance of post-independent times. It has become a truly multi-party system. The nature of the polity, society, technology, demographic structure, and the development paradigm itself have significantly changed. Second, under the changing dispensation, several pieces of central legislation such as the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act 2005, the Right of Children to Free and Compulsory Education Act 2009, the National Food Security Act 2013, and many other imposes an extra burden on the states. The TamilNadu Chief Minister recently raised the issue of shifting the education from the concurrent list to the state list. Third, at the time of constitution making, we never asked the pertinent question of who should do what and who should tax what. We borrowed copiously from the Government of India Act 1935 and failed to apply subsidiarity principle that whatever could be done best at a particular level should be done at that level and not at a higher level in the division of function and finance. Although the 73rd and 74th constitutional amendments provided an opportunity to re-examine the issue, nothing was done. In fact, more confusion was added with the introduction of Schedule XI and Schedule XII, which respectively list our list out the subject matter for the Panchayat Raj institution and municipalities by simply lifting items from the state list and concurrent list. They lack operational meaning unless they are broken down into activities and sub-activities as Kerala and a few others have done. Again, the retention of the irrelevant item number 5 in the state list is an upfront on the third tier, a new local list that will map out the functional and financial responsibility of the Panchayat Raj institution and municipalities. It is but inevitable. As institution of self-government, policymakers, experts, and even the UPSC generally refer to them as local bodies and have not given the respect and the handholding they deserve. The failure in building the local democratic base of India, which has over 3.2 million elected representatives and 2.5 lakh rural and urban local governments, is an enigma. Is well recognized that the prime objective of a four federation with deep heterogeneity is to provide basic services of standard quality to every citizen irrespective of our choice of residence, and they have a critical role to play. Will the term of reference of next commission consider this review of budget borrowing? There is a great need to review of budget borrowing practices of both the union and the states. Of budget borrowing means all borrowings not provided for in the budget but whose repayment liabilities fall on the budget. They are generally unscrutinized and unreported that all income and expenditure transactions should fall under some budget head or other is a universal principle. State public sector undertakings and special purpose vehicle raises resources from the markets, but their servicing burden often falls on the state government in cases where the government is the ultimate guarantor. The burden of repaying the debt also falls on the state. The central government that should set good examples is probably more guilty of off-budget borrowing than the states. Although the states are disciplined through Article 293 Clause 3 by the Union and through the FRBM Act, the Union often escapes such controls. The liberal utilization of National Small Saving Fund for extra budgetary finance of central public sector undertakings and central ministry by way of loan is not reflected in the Union fiscal deficit. This is because only the consolidated fund of India balance is considered for calculating fiscal deficit, and items in public accounts such as the NSSF are kept out. While the borrowing space of states is restricted, the union escapes such discipline. There is also a huge area of special banking arrangements using public sector banks to facilitate cash and credit flow outside the budgetary appropriations to help various agencies involved in quasi-physical operation with the government. Transparency guarantees and public accountability demand that the union, state and local governments come clean and bring all extra budgetary transactions to the public domain. In sum, the dynamics of the emerging fiscal federalism of India entails significant rethinking, especially in the context of 16th Finance Commission. नेक्स्ट जो एडिटोरियल का सेक्शन है वो है क्लीन टेक फॉर एन इंक्लूसिव ग्रीन फ्यूचर इन इंडिया. Cleantech for an inclusive green future in India. In his address to the nation on Independence Day this year, Prime Minister Narendra Modi talked about India showing the world how to combat climate change. India's experience has shown that the climate action is only effective and embraced at scale if it aligns with the development aspirations of millions and contributes to economic growth. The green economic paradigm provides an optimistic pathway to align development and environmental outcomes. For instance, building a solar park or an electric vehicle charging stations helps expand the much needed infrastructure in a developing economy while furthering climate action. Similarly, reviving millets helps improve farm incomes in rain-fed areas while making our agriculture climate resilient. But how do we take this green economy paradigm to the heart of our development need in the form of youth looking for jobs, women seeking income opportunity, of farmers waiting to diversify their incomes? Initiative in the hinterlands. In recent years, different initiatives have taken the green economy approach to the hinterlands of India by enabling access to the clean tech solutions for livelihood among the rural population. For instance, solar dryers converting a throwaway tomatoes into sun-dried ones in Andhra Pradesh, biomass-powered cold storage helping farmers in Maharashtra selling lemons, making a gain that is 3 to 5 times that of the original price. Or solar silk reeling machines reducing drudgery for reelers of and doubling their income in Odisha are some of the 50,000 plus examples of how clean tech solutions are already contributing to the jobs and income of rural women and men. But this is a silent revolution that is underway from Rajasthan to Nagaland and Kashmir to TamilNadu. Now needs a structural boost. India's rural economy that comprises 120 million farmers and 34 million micro enterprises often struggles with unreliable electricity access and a dependence on expensive and imported diesel. These clean tech solutions that are powered by renewable energy can help India reduce its diesel imports, avoid the loss of perishable food, and enhance rural livelihood opportunity while posing an investment opportunity worth $50 billion for investor and financier. Research at the Council on Energy, Environment and Water shows that just 20 such clean tech solutions varying from solar pumps to cold storage to charkha and looms have the potential to impact at least 37 million's livelihood and or about 16% of our rural productions. There need to be a threefold approach to traverse this journey from 50,000 plus to tens of millions. Steps to scale up. First, leverage existing government programs supporting livelihood. For instance, the Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana that extends collateral-free loans for micro-enterprises can be used to enable the adoption of a clean tech solution. Similarly, the Pradhan Mantri formalization of a micro food processing enterprise scheme that supports the adoption of technology among micro food enterprises can be used to unlock support for solutions such as a solar dryer, an energy efficient multi-purpose food processor, or a solar grain mill. Likewise, the Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana can be leveraged towards adopting solar refrigerator and a dryer for fishing communities. Finally, the Agriculture Infrastructure Fund, which has only seen a 15% fund utilization against a target of 1 lakh crore rupees, can support the adoption of biomass powered cold storage and beyond. Second, enable large scale financing of a clean tech solution. It requires supporting bankers' capacity on credit assessment for clean tech because they have not come across such solutions and the associated cash flow before to make an informed assessment. We also need to hedge their risks in the initial stages of the market though through partial guarantees. Moreover, active engagement with financiers is important to structure loan products that are aligned with the cash flow scenarios of users. Adopting some of these principles helped powering livelihood a CEEW Vilgro initiative unlock 300 plus loans for clean tech solution to women, self-help groups, farmer producer organizations and individual micro-entrepreneurs in rural areas. Third, enable multi-actor partnerships between technology innovators, manufacturers, distribution and service providers, financiers and market linkage players to enable an overall ecosystem. Clean tech manufacturers often need help bringing their products to customers. The challenges faced include low product awareness, high customer acquisition cost as users need to touch and feel these products before adoption, and a low density of customers for such products. In a given area, users too at times struggle with limited after-sales service and market linkage of the final processed products. We need a holistic ecosystem where distributors work with manufacturers to enable technology access at the last mile. Service providers ensure after sales services and market linkage players enable the connection to the market to create a thriving ecosystem for clean tech to impact rural livelihoods and at scales. For instance, there are solar dryer companies that are not only deploying dryer but are also enabling financing for users to adopt the dryers and buying back the final product produced from them to ensure market linkages. India has massive ambitions for a clean and a green future by focusing on clean tech for livelihood and jobs. Especially in rural areas, we can make that green future inclusive. नेक्स्ट जो आर्टिकल है Node for the game changer jet engine. Node for the game changer jet engine technology transfer expected soon. Ahead of President Joe Biden's visit to Delhi, U.S. ambassador speaks on trade ties between the two countries. Extradition of 2611 accused Rana G20 summit language of on Ukraine and China issues. U.S. congressional approval for the GEHAL jet engine deal involving the first ever such technology transfer between India and the US is expected to come through in days. US Ambassador Eric Garcetti said, suggesting that trade ties could make similar strides if India brings down its traffic and has more predictable regulations. Ahead of US President Joseph Biden's visit to Delhi for the G20 summit, Mr. Garcetti said the US would like to help, but would not compromise on the language of Ukraine in order to forge a joint declaration edited exports. 2 months since Prime Minister Narendra Modi and US President Joseph Biden announced the technology partnership and the GEHAL jet engine deal involving technology transfer, what progress has there been in clearing it through the US Congress? We have a legal notification that will end on August 27, so by the time we are at work on Monday, the notification and any chance for US Congress members to object will be We have not seen a single whisper of an objection, and I fully anticipate that we will move forward. And after that, it is between the two companies. But this executive technology, which has never been shared before, 100% of what we control will be shared with India, will be a game changer. Prime Minister Modi had also discussed the trade issues. There has been no movement on India's demand for restoration of its GSP status in the remainder of his term. Will President Biden push this through Congress? We need to get past flighting old battles and declaring victories just because we lose traffics or get preferential treatment back. I certainly would love to see the US Congress move GSP back in for India, but let's not stop there. We need to make sure that this is a relationship without limits, that we bring barriers down, and that we make regulation predictable and clear for next decade. If we are going to succeed, what is your reaction to India's decision to levy new taxes on laptops and computers? Then we don't read initially as hostile, we read it as something that may achieve a goal we both share. But we do think that trade is best and investment is more likely to happen when there are fewer barriers, and when there is dependable, predictable regulations. So we are in a stage of listening, understanding, and gauging, certainly giving the feedback of some of our companies that have concerns. On the subject of counter-terrorism cooperation, a US court has stated the extradition of 2611 accused Tahawar Rana, if he is extradited, has the US placed conditions on how India can charge him or restrict capital punishment? No, our extradition does not have those limitations. This is the final appeal where his lawyer will give their argument in October. Our government will respond in November, but we are crystal clear that he needs to pay the price for his involvement, and extradition should occur. And it's up the judge on the timeline for that. Prime Minister Modi and President Xi agreed to disengage and de-escalate tensions at the line of actual control. How do you see this development? India is our friend, and we would like to help in any way they need at the border. We certainly support that borders should be respected. We also want to see all tensions de-escalate, whether they are on the line of control or in the Taiwan Straits. We want a peaceful world, and we need to be engaged with China, both of us. But we also share principles, in this case sovereignty for India. Is President Biden prepared to do the heavy lifting required and, if necessary, compromise on some of the language on Ukraine in order to forge a joint declaration of the G20 when he comes to Delhi next month? I think besides a couple of countries, Russia and China, all the G20 nations believe very strongly that there are certain things you do not compromise, that wars of aggression must be condemned, and that sovereignty and the border matters. Are you disappointed India has not publicly changed its position on Ukraine? We have been very pleased with the engagement with India, whether it was Prime Minister Modi meeting with President Zelensky in Hiroshima, or NSA Doval attending the meeting on Ukraine in Saudi Arabia. We know that India can and will play a positive role and shares the desire for peace as soon as possible. Why did Chandrayaan 3 land on the near side of the moon? Why did Chandrayaan 3 land on the near side of the moon? The controlled descent of a Vikram lander of Chandrayaan 3 made it one of the closest approach of a lunar mission to the moon's south pole. However, like most of the lunar landing missions before, Vikram 2 landed on the near side, making the Chinese Chang 4 mission the only one to have landed on the far side. What are the moon's near and far side, and is there a dark side? The near side refers to the portion of the moon about 60% that is visible to us. It is always the same side that is visible from Earth because the moon takes same time to rotate about its axis and it does not circle around the Earth. However, this does not imply that the half the moon is perpetual darkness. The new moon, or when the moon is invisible from Earth, is the time when the other far side of the moon is bathed in the sunlight and continues to receive light for nearly a fortnight. The dark side is thus dark only in the sense that it was mysterious and its various topographical features hidden until the Soviet spacecraft Luna 3 in 1959 photographed it, and the Soviet Academy of Science released an atlas of these images. Astronauts aboard the Apollo 8 mission of 1968 were the first human to see the far side of the moon. Is the dark side very different from is the dark side very different from the near side? The major difference between the two sides is that the near side is relatively smoother and has many more Maria and large volume volcanic plains compared to the far side. On the far side, however, there are huge craters thousands of kilometers wide, which have likely resulted from collision with asteroid while both sides of the moon in its formative phase were similarly bombarded. The crust on the near side is thinner because of which over millions of years the volcanic lava in the lunar crust has flowed more extensively into the thinner side and filled up its craters. The resulting plains that have thus formed are far more conducive to space mission because they provide a relatively flat terrain for landers and rovers. Chandrayaan 3 identified an area of 2.4 km wide and 4.8 km long that had spots of 150 meter spaces that would be conducive to a space descent. China's Chang'e lander remains the only one to have successfully landed on the far side. This vehicle landed on the Von Karman crater situated within a larger 2,500 km wider crater called the South Pole Aitken Basin. What's special about Chandrayaan 3's landing? The Chandrayaan 3 mission, while still on the near side, has managed to land a Vikram, the closest ever to the lunar south pole. The coordinates of Chandrayaan 3 at 69.366 south and 32.34 east make it about 600 km away from the south pole. The choice of being as close as possible to the South Pole was to get closer to a permanently shadowed region, or where no sunlight ever reaches. A.S. Kiran Kumar, former chairman Indian Space Research Organization, told the Hindu this would mean increasing the chances of encountering frozen water ice along with several interesting deposits that can reveal more about the moon and its harvestable resources. The Vikram lander was not exactly in a shadowed region as it was necessary to shine sunlight on the lander and rover to charge their solar batteries to keep them powered. The mission's guiding purpose was to execute a successful controlled or soft landing, and the chances of doing that best while being near the South Pole were best served by keeping it in the near side, said Mr. Kumar. Crucially, landing on the far side would have meant no direct line of sight communications with the Earth necessary for regular near real time updates. In such a situation, you will need a relay, something that will communicate with the rover and then transmit to the Earth. While the Chandrayaan 2 orbiter is still functional, you would have to reorient its orbit to function as a relay. This would not only mean moving it further away from the moon in a different elliptical orbit but also delays of up to half a day in transmitting and receiving information. It's always the objective of the mission that determines the choice of landing location, he added. India and Greece pledged to upgrade ties to become strategic partners. India and Greece on Friday agreed to upgrade bilateral ties to level of strategic partnership, announcing the decision of Athens. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said the two countries will collaborate in the field of defense and will soon conclude an agreement on on migration mobility to smoothen movement of a skilled population of both sides. Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis, in his comments, expressed commitment to freedom of navigation and said there are concerns in this regard in both the Eastern Mediterranean and the Indo-Pacific region. Mr. Modi said that both sides have agreed to boost defense industries and military links. He also added that they will promote cultural and academic exchanges between educational institutions and encourage people-to-people contacts. Mr. Mitsotakis recalled that the Indian Prime Minister to visit Greece was Indira Gandhi recalled that the last Indian Prime Minister to visit Greece was Indira Gandhi, who toured Athens in 1983. He spoke of India-Greece ties from the days of Alexander the Great to the contemporary times and sought investment from Indian entities. We agreed that we are fully committed to the objective of maintaining maritime security, to our commitment to international law and to the Convention on the Law of Sea, a critical issue given the common knowledge that concerns both the Eastern Mediterranean and the Indo-Pacific Ocean, said Mr. Mitsotakis. Next, Tehran and New Delhi drop foreign arbitration clause in Chabahar port issue. In a move aimed at boosting India-Iran commercial relations, Tehran and New Delhi have agreed to drop the clause for arbitration in foreign courts concerning the Chabahar port, which had been a hurdle for the framing of long-term agreement around the facility. The Iran Delhi has reported this major development also coincide with the decision of a BRICS grouping to admit Iran along with the five other countries. We have agreed that disputes at Chabahar will not go for commercial arbitration in foreign courts but take investment arbitration or any other mode of dispute settlement. This would prevent Iran from having to amend its constitution, a source told the Iran Daily in Tehran. Both sides have agreed to pursue arbitration under rules framed by the United Nations Commission on International Trade Law, which is favored by India over other international trade arbitration mechanisms. The Chhabahar issue had featured prominently during a telephonic conversation between Iran's President Ibrahim Raisi and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. According to the Ministry of External Affairs, the two leaders reiterated their commitment to further strengthen bilateral cooperation, including to realize the full potential of Chabahar Port as a connectivity hub. Mr. Raisi met Mr. Modi in Johannesburg on Thursday on the sidelines of 15th BRICS summit when the two sides expressed commitment to boost ties, greater predictability. A longer term agreement will ensure greater predictability and boost the confidence of stakeholders in the feasibility of the facility, which is located in southeastern coast of Iran. The move is being interpreted as a step by India to stay ahead of China, which has been showing interest in Iranian port and infrastructure projects. The resolution of the issue will also help sanctions hit Russia, which has been engaged to reach the Indian Ocean region through the 13th Nation International North-South Transport Corridor, which passes through Chabahar. Indore, the best city, MP top state in smart city contest. Indore has been adjudged the best smart city, while Madhya Pradesh has been chosen as the top state for exemplary performance in the smart city mission. Surat and Agra are the second and third place winner among cities, while Tamil Nadu is the second in the state category, followed by Rajasthan. And in Uttar Pradesh in India Smart Cities Award contest ISAC 2022. The award for the best union territory has gone to Chandigarh. The ISAC award for 2022, organized under the Smart City Mission by the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, were announced on Friday. President Draupadi Murmu will give away the award on September 27 at Indore in Madhya Pradesh. This is the fourth edition of ISAC award. In the past, the ISAC witnessed three editions in 2018, 2019, and 2020. The 2022 edition was launched in April last year during the Smart Urbanization event in Surat. Tamil Nadu is the second in state category. Chandigarh recognized as the best union territory. There were no awards in 2021 because of the COVID-19 pandemic. The ISAC recognizes and rewards cities, projects, and innovative ideas that are promoting sustainable development across the 100 smart cities, as well as stimulating inclusive, equitable, safe, healthy, and collaborative cities, leading to a better quality of life for all. The ISAC 2022 award had a two-stage submission process consisting of a qualifying stage which involved overall assessment of the city performance and the proposal stage which required the smart cities to submit their nomination for six award categories. A total of 845 nominations were received for ISAC 2022 from 80 qualifying smart cities, out of which 66 final winners have been identified in various categories. नेक्स्ट आर्टिकल जो है G20 ministers agree to map global value chains link MSMEs. Trade and Investment Minister of G20 nation, which together generate 75% of the world's trade flows, agreed on Friday to map global value chain integrates small businesses with them and eased trade documentation. But a comprehensive communique remained elusive on the Sunnis issue of the war in Ukraine as China and Russia blocked a paragraph of flagged geopolitical issues. Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal, speaking after the conclusion of the two-day G20 Trade and Investment Ministerial meeting, said the agreed outcomes were not only the most significant in G20 parlays so far, but also included several new elements. Very strong outcomes. It is a very powerful, strong outcome document and chair summary. Mr. Goel said the new elements can become a guiding principle in which we can see significant progress in the international trade and growth in the world economy. He remarked, stressing that the three very distinct actions-oriented outcomes were agreed upon as annexes that hold importance for India. The three annexes are really the juice of this agreement. In the first, we talk of a G20 generic framework for mapping global value chain toward understanding where the problems are and what need to be done to make our value chain more inclusive, sustainable, and shock-proof. The minister said, stressing that many value chains stood broken and need to be revived. The second annex address our micro, small, and medium enterprises from Jaipur. A clarion call has gone out to the world that we will have to strengthen the ability of our MSMEs who play a very important role in India's economy as well as the economy of many parts of the world, particularly developing economies. MSMEs have a limited ability given their small size to have full access to information, finance, and market sensitive data points. So while they can contribute much more economies, they remain constrained in their ability to do so. Mr. Goel noted, adding that the call for action involves upgrading existing database and portal to provide trade-related information. A global trade help desk operated by the International Trade Center will be continuously upgraded in the consultation with the UNCTAD and the World Trade Organization so that it becomes more inclusive and provides very rich data to MSMEs, Mr. Goel said. The third annex relates to principles on the digitalization of trade documents so that paper documents and impli- impediments to seamless flow of goods and services will be curbed, he added. Then last जो article है वह China Bhutan hold the first meeting on delimitation of disputed boundary. China and Bhutan this week held the first meeting of the newly set up Joint Technical Team on the delimitation of their disputed boundary as officials from both sides met for 4 days in China and agreed to speed up a boundary resolution. A joint press release from Beijing and Thimphu on Thursday said the 13th export group meeting was held in Beijing from Monday through Thursday, and described as an important outcome the setting of a joint technical team on delimitation of the China-Bhutan boundary, which held its first meeting along the sidelines of the EGM. In recent months, both sides have portrayed the long-running talks as picking up speed and nearing towards a possible solution which would have ramifications for India. They agreed in Beijing to hold the 14th round as soon as possible and to hold a 25th round of boundary talks to keep positive momentum. It did not, however, announce a date for the already much delayed 25th round of boundary talks which have not been held since 2016. While there was a 2-year gap between the 10th round of EGM held in April 2021 and the 11th round of the EGM held in January 2023, the last two rounds have been held in relative quick successions. Experts in India have said any deal between Beijing and Thimphu that accedes to a swap arrangement between areas to the north with the Doklam to the west would be of concern to India given the proximity to India's narrow Siliguri corridor that connects the northeastern states with the rest of India. India and China were involved in a standoff in Doklam near India-China-Bhutan tri-junction in 2017. In March, the Bhutanese Prime Minister said in an interview that the process of demarcating territories and throwing a line could be completed after one or two more meetings. Disputed areas. The boundary talks between Bhutan and China began in 1984 and the 24th round was held in 2016. The talks have largely focused on the disputed areas to Bhutan's north and to its west, attributing the Doklam Plateau. However, these have been stalled since 2016, especially after the 2017 Doklam standoff. Thursday, Thursday's statement said the two sides have talks on continuously implementing the MOU on the three-step roadmap for expediting the China-Bhutan boundary negotiations and agreed to expedite and it takes simultaneous steps to implement the three-step roadmap. The two sides also agreed upon keeping the positive momentum of the frequent expert group meeting, holding the 14th expert group meeting on the China-Bhutan boundary issues as soon as possible and maintaining communications on holding the 25th round of China-Bhutan boundary talks, it is said. So thank you, and we will meet from tomorrow onwards for news analysis. So thank you.